y'all been paying attention to what's been going on around the internet, but recently fashion enthusiasts across social media were taken aback when a new line of Gucci t-shirts donning the phrase whatever the city you're in versus everybody. The streetwear community went nuts, including me, y'all. So I'm sure you're asking, why was this particular ad such the conversation in fashion groups across creative communities? Well, Gucci, amongst the fashion house, has been known to be very hard on anyone who uses their likeness, brand, and or designs. Rightfully so. I mean, anyone who uses some ideas that are not theirs should give some type of credit, right? Credit, compensation, or acknowledgement. That is, of course, if you plan to use anything that you are not responsible for creating. However, that rule seems to only apply to those smaller no name designers. No name meaning, in reference to designers that's not considered mainstream. In the past, major fashion houses has come under scrutiny when they seemingly copied designs that became very popular in the urban culture, which so happen to be created by those same no-name designers who unfortunately don't have the resources to start that litigation process that design houses like, say, for example, Louis Vuitton can afford. So when it comes to anger, that anger led me to do a little research, as I knew there just had to be some explanation for this atrocity, right? I figured that after the backlash many designers have been experiencing, from occasional copying of designs to racial imagery, I just could not imagine that Gucci would have been like that brazen to rip off another black designer. After all, didn't they introduce the new Changemaker program that was supposed to create opportunities and place emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion? How could they have the audacity to rip off a black designer intellectual property? If you didn't know, Tommey Walker, a black designer from Detroit, is the creative mind behind the popular versus everybody phrase. I'm sure y'all seen that shirt, versus everybody. Philly versus everybody, Detroit versus everybody. That's been circulating. Mm-hmm. But just wow, Gucci, out of all people, how could you, right? And just like that, to my surprise, I was completely wrong. We all were. In fact, I owe Gucci an apology. In an IG post that Tommy shared to his timeline highlighting video campaign attached to post read, Gucci versus everybody, as an ongoing commitment to foster unity through community action with hashtag Gucci Changemakers, Gucci has collaborated with Detroit designer Tommey Walker and his homegrown label Detroit versus everybody on a special lineup of t-shirts to celebrate 11 U.S. Gucci Changemaker cities, together with a donation benefiting local nonprofit organizations. Each of Gucci flagship boutiques in Atlanta, Chicago, Detroit, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New Orleans, New York City, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C., and of course, Philadelphia, will exclusively carry their city's t-shirt in limited quantities. So in Philly, it'll say Philly versus everybody. At the Gucci location, I believe it's in King of Prussia. So while the full offering will be available on Gucci.com in the United States beginning on March 1st. So this just came out. Now, to conclude, just maybe, y'all, these fashion houses are really trying to make a change and give agency to those creators who also inspires them. So kudos to Tommey Walker and Gucci. This is definitely a move in the right direction. Now, before I end, I want to show a video. And I don't own the rights to the video that I'm about to play. And so I wanted to show it for educational purposes. So what I'll do, I'll make sure that Lily shares this on our, we'll do it on our IG so you can see the full video unedited. But I edited it a little bit because you know how YouTube is. If something go on, they just strike it and you can't even see it. But for educational purposes, I just want to make sure that you guys see this because I thought that it was very important, especially to stop the miscommunication the misinformation that's been circulating about what this actually is. Take a look at this, y'all.
My name is Tommey Walker. There was a time when my city wasn't just down. It was getting kicked while it was down. A city that gave its own blood, its own sweat, its own tears to American culture. We don't ask for anything in return, just respect. Look, Detroit versus everybody has always been here. I just put it on a shirt. Detroiters aren't the only ones who've been up against it. So Gucci and I are making Detroit versus everybody for everybody. A limited collab with 11 changemaker cities. Benefiting the Gucci Changemakers Impact Fund to fuel community engagement and positive social change. Today, we inspire other cities to rise up versus anybody and everybody who has ever doubted them.
So, I owe Gucci an apology. I owe a lot of people an apology because I think what I know is, especially as it relates to the show, one thing that we always talk about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this Gucci Changemaker program, I thought was something that's necessary, and maybe it will inspire other major brands to reach out into those marginalized communities to help those artists, because that's what we are, right? It's about change makers. If they can truly and really are sincere about uplifting and including those who have not been included in the past, then maybe they're on to something, and maybe we actually need to support that. Now, I decided and thought a long time on whether I would purchase this shirt, right? I don't know if I'm going to spend $400 on a t-shirt.
I said the same thing.
That's what I was thinking. Like,
just about
yeah, like
I'm not. But what I will say is, if you purchase the t-shirt, you know, some of it is, you know, they're donating to charities, which is a good thing. But if you go on his site, Tommey Walker, his site versus everybody, you can actually get his brand without the Gucci attached to it, and I think it's only like $50 for the t-shirt. I think it's like $70 for a sweatshirt or something like that. So I might get a Philly versus everybody. Yeah. But I do like the idea that you have people like Gucci really taking responsibility and being accountable of the decision of supporting their initiative of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So what did y'all think of that?
It reminds me a little bit of Dapper Dan, like how he basically was, you know, making knockoffs, but giving Gucci ideas. And then I think he had to stop what he was doing because they basically was taking him to court to sue because he was putting the Gucci label on stuff, but he was giving it his own creativeness. And then they actually collabed with him on that Gucci level and allowed him to be creative. So I think it's a great idea. But $400 is a little steep because you know that the urban community, regardless if you're doing charity or not.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like an saying. Go ahead, Sizzle.
No, I was gonna. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's. I would love to see it be affordable, for people to actually walk around wearing it, and I also want to know what percentage of the proceeds are going to the Black community, Black programs, and all that. And you know, it kind of had me thinking. This is a little sidebar, but I went in Walmart during Black History Month, and I sent this picture to a couple people, but I don't know if y'all could see. I saw these shirts hanging in there, and I'm like, are these Black businesses that made these shirts and you're giving the money back to them, or is it that you're trying to capitalize off of Black History Month?
Right.
Which is it? So that I don't know what that was Walmart, and I don't know what, if there were Black business owners that made these shirts and that's what's in there, or is it that Walmart is taking the proceeds from the sale of these shirts? And I was in there, and I was gonna say, somebody white saw me taking a picture, and they were looking at me like, "What the heck is she doing?" Yeah, I want to know.
Business.
Mind your business, you.
Mind your business. So, I mean, that's nothing new, right? You got places like I think it was like African Pride.
I've never seen that in Walmart though.
Well,
the shirts, like I've never seen that, and I know there's a movement right now, and I have seen companies either supporting it or trying to capitalize off of it, and that's what I didn't quite understand about Walmart. It's like it's Black History Month. Even if you look at the tag of the shirt, I don't know if y'all could see it. The shirt itself, the tag says Black History Month on it. So I'm like, all right, what is that about? Like, I hope that's, I don't know.
One thing that I say is, even when the Dapper Dan thing, our people are the ones who got him in there, because we was on Gucci's ass when they knocked off something that Dapper Dan made, right?
Yeah.
And so it was something that we can say about the people that said, you know what, enough is enough. But I say that to say that Gucci listened, right? I think in the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, though, it needs to be more conversation based around pricing for the Black community, because ironically, you're excluding some people who can't afford it, a $400 t-shirt. So when you talk about equity and inclusion, you're excluding those who essentially would like to purchase something like that. But that's my story, man. I thought it was interesting because on my timeline been buzzing. This was nuts. People were giving them the business, thinking that Gucci just again did something like knock off another person's design. Kudos to Tommey Walker though, because I actually reached out to Tommey and asked if it was all right for me to play that video, and he said absolutely you can play the video, and I'll make sure that again Lee posts on our page so you can see the people who actually created the video and the music behind it. I believe both were I don't want to make the assumptions, but it's good that they are now including people who look like us when they wouldn't want to do that before. So it is a step in the right direction.
Charles, what was the message, the initial message behind Chicago versus everybody?
He had a great story behind it. After some of the incidents in Detroit, is Detroit versus everybody, I think he felt that they always get kicked when they're down. And so he wanted people to know that, we can stand against adversity, and our people, our city will hold us down and push forward. So it's us against everybody. But he acknowledges that he's a change maker, and he acknowledged that he's been pushing for inclusivity, and that his city wasn't the only city that was pushing against adversity. And so you had people like Texas, you had people like Philly, you cities like Philly and those other states that he felt like, you know what, these are change makers, these are cities that's fighting, and we just wanted to acknowledge them. Yeah.
I think it's important that people know the backstory as to what the message is behind when you see a city versus everybody, because not knowing the history or not knowing the story or not knowing where this comes from, and you just see a bunch of shirts where not all 50 states, but just and just certain cities from certain states saying that they're against everybody else in a time when so much stuff is going on. When I see that initially, the first thing I think about is a big message of division. It's like, why are all these cities against each other? Why are all these states against each other when we're supposed to be the United States? So, not knowing the background, it just looks like a message of division.
Interesting enough, I don't see it that way. But that's I can see people looking at it. I mean, that holds merit because I could see some people probably thinking that way.
If you don't know the backstory.
Yeah.
It's like
when I see Philly.
If I just see a bunch of shirts, it's like, wow, these cities, it looks like they're all against each other. It's like us versus you and us versus you. Why are we versus, it's like, what is this and what does this mean? If you've never seen it and don't know what it is.
Yeah, the way I seen it, especially when I seen the shirt Philly versus everybody, you had people like the president of the United States saying bad things happen in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see that, it's kind of like, nah, Philly is who held down this new president. Philly held him down. And I see people kind of looking at Philly, and I'm only talking about Philadelphia right now because I'm from Philadelphia. But it's other cities that I'm sure can tell like stories. But I don't see us against the United States per se. I think it's just kind of like, this idea turning something that's considered bad into something good. How we call each other, what's up, my nigga? You know what I'm saying? And we just kind of turn it into something. We make everything cool.
That's exactly what it is. It's like a bad message that we're going to turn it around and make it to be something good, and we're going to add a big designer into it because we know that's what this culture likes, brand names, and we're going to say, we give some money to charity, and then now it's all good.
We hold the narrative. We hold the key to the narrative, though. We can't let nobody change the narrative for us. That's for people who don't look like us to be mad because they can't say the N-word, because they can't say nigga. Right? That's not for me to pacify. You can't do that. And I'm not upset that you can't. My point is, we do it. We did it. We changed the narrative. We control that narrative. And if we don't, somebody change the narrative for us, which is important. So when I hear things like bad things happen in Philadelphia, you know how fast that was flipped for us to be like, yeah, now we stand together. We Philly. Bad things happen in Philadelphia. And so again, I don't want to point fingers at the initiative, so to speak, because I do think it holds merit to say diversity, equity, inclusion by a major designer when before they could do something like Sizzle just showed you some shirts that's in Walmart that I'm sure probably not from Black designers that Walmart put out. Maybe allegedly, I'm not sure, but they could put them out, make all the money, and don't include anybody. So if you are going to sell, Gucci sells $400 t-shirts all the time. So if you want to put out a t-shirt that's $400, but some of that will not only go to charity, but you just gave somebody a platform that probably would never had a platform like Gucci to stand on to springboard and potentially be able to launch his brand even bigger than what it is. I think it holds some merit to acknowledge that, that was something to think about and may start the ball rolling for other designers like a Dolce & Gabbana or like Gracian, who, just sit somebody down in blackface. To start thinking,
it's all business for them.
Of course, but that's knowledge. We know this.
Marketing, it's like, oh, this is our marketing scheme. We're gonna do this, and they're gonna love it, and we're gonna, make money. Yeah. I mean, that's how they use this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but what they used to do, they used this and didn't include us.
This is
right. So the problem is if you're going to use this, at least include us and give us some bread from it. That's my thing. Don't use me all the way, because I know you're going to do it anyway. But we need to be smart about it and don't get taken advantage of. And that's kind of like the thing, because he still holds his trademark. He has his LLC, and Gucci can't take that away from him. So he still controls his narrative.
Well, I'm glad you clarified for all of those who maybe thought that he was being ripped off or
I thought it
too.
I thought it too. And I don't want to say I felt bad because major designers do that. But I do acknowledge that, I knee-jerk reaction because it happens, and I'm glad that I was able to, clarify that so people when they watch this video, now they kind of get it and understand.